Picture this. You're sick. Fever, chills, maybe a nasty cough. So you do what anyone would do. You go see a doctor. But here's the thing. Depending on when in history you lived, that doctor might drill a hole in your skull, cover you in leeches, or straight up poison you with mercury. And the worst part? They genuinely thought they were helping. Today, we're diving into the absolute worst times in history to seek medical attention. Times when the cure was deadlier than the disease. Times when, "Trust me, I'm a doctor," were the last words you'd ever want to hear. So buckle up, because we're about to witness medical practices so terrifying you'll never complain about a flu shot again. Let's get started with number 5. Number 5, medieval Europe, 500 to 1500 AD, the era of humors. If you got sick in medieval Europe, congratulations, your doctor believes your body is controlled by 4 liquids called humors: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. And if you're sick, clearly these humors are out of balance. The solution? Let's drain some of that blood out of you. Bloodletting was the medical treatment for everything. Headache? Bloodletting. Stomach pain? Bloodletting. Broken leg? Believe it or not, also bloodletting. Doctors would either use sharp instruments to cut you open, or they'd attach leeches to suck the blood right out of your body. And we're not talking about a small amount here. They'd drain pints of blood from already weak and dying patients. But wait, it gets worse. Medieval doctors also believed in something called trepanation, which is the fancy medical term for drilling a hole in your skull. Got a headache? Let's release the evil spirits by boring into your brain. Seizures? Same treatment. Depression? You guessed it, time to grab the drill. The survival rate for these procedures was, well, let's just say you'd have better odds playing Russian roulette. Oh, and if you were a woman experiencing literally any medical issue, the diagnosis was always hysteria caused by your wandering uterus. The treatment? Everything from being told to get married to having strong-smelling herbs shoved up your nose to lure the uterus back to its proper place. I wish I was making this up. Number 4. Ancient Egypt, 3000 to 300 BC, when poop was medicine. Ancient Egypt, home to the pyramids, the Sphinx, and some of the nightmare-inducing medical practices you've ever heard of. Now, to be fair, Egyptian doctors were actually pretty advanced for their time. They could set broken bones, perform surgery, and even had some understanding of anatomy. But then they'd go and ruin it all by prescribing you animal feces. I'm serious. Got an infection? Here, rub some crocodile dung on it. Eye problem? Let's make a paste out of lizard blood and human brain matter and put that directly in your eyeball. Baldness? Clearly, you need a mixture of dog toes, date refuse, and a donkey's hoof, cooked, mashed, and applied to your head. These weren't fringe treatments either. These were mainstream medical prescriptions found in official medical papyri. But the real kicker? Egyptian doctors believed that many diseases were caused by bad blood accumulating in the body. So their solution was to deliberately cause bleeding, or better yet, induce vomiting and diarrhea to cleanse the body. They'd prescribe powerful laxatives made from castor oil and other substances that would leave you completely dehydrated and weak. For patients who were already sick, this treatment often finished the job the disease started. So yeah, ancient Egypt, where the medical advice was eat some poop and pray to Ra. Number 3. The Victorian era, 1837 to 1901, the cocaine and heroin years. Welcome to Victorian England, where doctors have discovered the miracle of highly addictive drugs. During this era, if you walked into a doctor's office complaining literally about anything, there was a chance you'd walk out with cocaine, heroin, or morphine. And not just a little bit. These substances were prescribed for everything from headaches to menstrual cramps to crying babies. That's right, crying babies. Mrs. Winslow's soothing syrup was a popular product for teething infants, and it contained a generous dose of morphine. The baby would definitely stop crying because they'd be unconscious. Thousands of children died from these soothing syrups. Number 2. The American Civil War era, 1861 to 1865, the amputation Olympics. If you were a soldier in the American Civil War and you got shot or injured, I have some bad news for you. Your chances of survival weren't great, and not because of the injury itself, but because of what the doctor was about to do to you. Civil War doctors had basically one treatment strategy: amputation. Bullet wound in your arm? Off it comes. Infected leg? Gone. Mild fracture? Better safe than sorry. Let's amputate. These field surgeons would perform dozens of amputations per day, often using the same unwashed instruments on patient after patient. They didn't know about germ theory yet, so they saw no reason to sterilize anything. The saw you used to cut through your bone? Still covered in blood and tissue of the last 5 guys. The doctor's hands? Absolutely filthy. The operating table? More like an operating plank of wood that hadn't been cleaned in weeks. The anesthesia situation was a nightmare. If you were lucky, you'd get chloroform or ether. If you weren't lucky, you'd get a bullet to bite down on and a shot of whiskey. Then they'd just start sawing. The speed record for an amputation was reportedly 2 minutes and 30 seconds. The surgeon was so fast that he also accidentally cut off 3 of his assistants' fingers and slashed a spectator's coat. Both the patient and the assistant later died of gangrene, and the spectator died of shock, thinking he'd been stabbed. The only amputation in history with a 300% mortality rate. Even if you survived the initial surgery, your chances of dying from infection were astronomical. And finally, we've arrived at the absolute worst time in history to see a doctor: Europe during the Black Death. The plague was killing millions, people were desperate, and doctors were making everything worse. When the plague hit, doctors believed it was caused by bad air or an imbalance of humors, so their treatments included bloodletting, because, of course, let's weaken your immune system while you fight off a deadly plague; lancing the buboes, those painful swollen lumps in the armpits and groin. Doctors would cut them open without anesthesia, often causing secondary infections that killed patients who might have otherwise survived. They'd prescribe poultices made from urine and crushed emeralds. Yes, crushed emeralds. Because if you're rich and dying, why not die broke too? But the most insane treatment was Tyriac, a supposed cure-all that contained over 70 ingredients, including opium, viper flesh, and a significant amount of poison. The logic was that poison could fight poison. The reality was that you were just being poisoned. Plague doctors would walk around in those famous bird beak masks stuffed with herbs and flowers, believing it would protect them from bad air. It did nothing. Many plague doctors died within weeks of starting their work. And if you showed symptoms of plague, you'd be locked in your house with your entire family, sick or not. A red cross would be painted on your door with the words, "Lord, have mercy upon us." Guards would be posted to ensure no one escaped. You'd be left to die, surrounded by your dying family members, with no real medical care, just a doctor occasionally checking on you from a distance with a long stick, prescribing treatments that made everything worse. The mortality rate for the Black Death was between 30 and 60% of Europe's population, and doctors, with their bloodletting and toxic cures, may have actually increased that number. So there you have it. 5 times in history when saying, "I need a doctor," was basically a death sentence. The next time you're at the doctor's office and they ask you to step on a scale or give a blood sample, just remember, it could be so much worse. At least they're not drilling holes in your skull or prescribing you a nice poultice of human feces. Medical science has come an incredibly long way, and we should be grateful we live in an era where doctors actually know what they're doing most of the time. If you enjoyed this terrifying trip through medical history, make sure to hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling me which of these time periods you'd least want to get sick in. Trust me, there are no wrong answers. Thanks for watching, and stay healthy out there.